Welcome back. It's Amber from DIYdesignerduo, and today we're going to share our table journey. We had been using a fold-up table temporarily and shopping around for the chunky leg table design. But we thought in order to get this type of table, it was going to cost us thousands of dollars. But today we're going to share how we made this table for around $150. Once you have your boards, your first step will be ripping the round ledge off of each board. This will allow your boards for your tabletop to butt up against each other and give it a more square look. Time to start the assembly process. We'll do 4 of these for the 2 legs. And then to attach the top and bottom, you will need to put pocket holes into your 2x6 boards and stack 3 on top of each other to give it a more chunky look. Next, it was time to start working on our tabletop. We used pocket holes down the length of the entire board and 2 on each end, so you were able to attach all the boards to each other. In addition, we also used wood glue down the seams, and this will hold it together over time. The tabletop turned out great, and we added 2 breadboards, 1 on each end. Here's a better look at the back of the table. But when we did add the breadboards, it left some very uneven ledges. Overall, the top of our table did need a lot of sanding. While he's sanding, I can get started on the trim work around the 2 legs. I was intimidated by this part, but it's not nearly as hard as it looks. We bought a few different options for trim work, and we started with the baseboard, and then for our second level, we went with something a little more fancy. And as you can see on the third piece, we used a plain piece of wood followed by a chair rail. The top did get a little tricky, but keep in mind it is up under your table. And then what we ended up doing was adding a small piece of trim around the top to give it a more finished look that we then added to the bottom as well. Next up, we just have to assemble all the different pieces and we will have a table. But I was so proud of these chunky legs we just built. I made my husband stop for a photo shoot, but he is ready to finish this table. So let's get back to it. Next, we added 2 runners to stabilize our legs. Be sure you flip the legs upside down before this step. And then we also added 4 foot pads, which will elevate the bottom of the table. And when we finally got everything assembled and put the tabletop on, we could not believe how beautiful this table turned out. After a lot of debate, we ended up keeping it pretty traditional on the colors, and we whitewashed the bottom and stained the top. Although we're planning to whitewash the bottom of the table, we wanted it to show a dark brown color through, so we decided to gel stain the bottom first. This was our first time working with gel stain, and between the no odor and no drip, this stuff was really awesome. We love the way the table looked brown. We actually did a test piece to be sure we still wanted to whitewash it. We decided to go ahead with our original plan to whitewash it, and we came up with a technique, and there is no turning back now. As we're finishing the last steps of building our table, it really started to sink in how much this table means to us. This could be something that's in our family for years to come. We actually added some meaningful notes and quotes along the top runner, which the tabletop will cover up. This was our first time using chalk paint, and it did look a little bit streaky, but we were planning to sand it, so we didn't give that too much worry. We tested out a lot of different combinations to come up with the perfect color stain. We used a classic gray first, followed by Cordovan brown. Now it was time to whitewash the bottom. We used 220 grit sandpaper and went along the outside seams and edges. At first we kind of went light, but we ended up going back and taking a little more off. After we put the final coat of brown on the top, all we had left to do was secure the bottom to the top by adding some 2.5-inch screws. The feeling of accomplishing something you set out to do is very addicting. And at the end of the day, the fact that we get to look at this table and say that we did it is such a great feeling. Please make sure you tag us if you attempt this build, and like and subscribe to our channel if we helped you at all today.